Shalom, Kol Halal, Wahawad, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Wadash. I understand the elder apostles at Great Millstone rule well, and who have taught us this knowledge. As a salutation to you fellow laborers out there that's doing the work of you in true sincerity. Shalom to the few Akwath that believe as well. This is a video entitled This is Why We Study, and it's based upon a video of the Russian icons from YouTube. I seen this lady going into the Russian icon history. So, Lord willing, this video edifying, and I'm going to jump right into it. This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. It says, "Study to show thyself approved unto the Heavenly Father, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." So, key word is study. We have to study. All right, as you know, brothers, they are part of the body. You know, teachers and help. Well, whatever you may be within the body, you know, you want to do your best to be or fulfill that position, right? So, without any further ado, let's get into the Russian icons. Fair use, by the way, teaching purposes only, as far as this video. But this is actually a great video. I watched a little bit of the video, and it instantly caught my interest. I said, you know what? Let me get into it. You know, it just came across my home screen on my YouTube app. So, Lord willing, this video edifying again. All right, so let's dive into it.
But you'll see lots of new information about the pieces, and we're so pleased to be able to present her work here and to present Emily herself speaking about it for all of you.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Emily Silbergeld. I am the guest curator of this exhibition, which I have entitled Threshold of the Invisible World, Russian Icons from the Collection.
So she's going into history about the Russian icons. She actually know history pretty well, for what I've seen throughout the video, as far as the video footage I've watched of her. She's pretty knowledgeable about the history, so that's good. So I'm gonna let you guys tune in. I got some precepts pulled in as well, pulled up. I'm gonna bring them out in spurts during the video, so bear with me.
These are all icons from the museum's collection. These are highlights of the collection, which I have selected. I think that they are some of the best pieces. Unfortunately, there are a few pieces which we were not able to bring up into the gallery because of condition issues. But thank you all for coming, and thank you so much to the museum for inviting me to curate this show. It's been a pleasure. Special thanks to Jody Seasonwine, who was our former curator of European art. She is now with the Clark Honors College. And thank you to Anne Rose Kitagawa, chief curator of collections of Asian collections and Asian art, and director of the academic programs. And many thanks to all of the museum staff. Prep, photography, collections have all been wonderful in helping to achieve this, and also many thanks to our fabulous security staff who probably spend more time with the art than actually any of us do and make our experience here possible. Today I'm going to talk a bit about the history and the development of the iconic tradition from early Christianity to how these images became a prominent visual element of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Now, what she's going into is the Dark Ages, or early Christianity. The Dark Ages, also known as the Middle Ages, and you can find it on Google. It's during the time where the dark nations ruled in Europe, specifically the Israelites, particularly of the or specifically of the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negro tribes, which the so-called Negroes, the so-called Haitians, the so-called West Indians. They ruled in Europe, and they ruled there for 1,000 year period. And the history she's going into dates going back to the beginning of the Holy Roman Empire, where Israelites took over the Roman Empire. It became the Holy Roman Empire, and that's where you get this whole Christianity, Roman Catholicism. It all stems from this area, that one or universal Christianity, universal Catholicism. Basically, it all comes from this area, of the Holy Roman Empire, which is Constantine the Great, which is Israelite, so-called Negro, to be specifically, which Judah, 1/10 of Judah. He ruled, known as Constantine the Great. A city was made unto him called Constantinople, and pretty much that was 325 AD. All right, 325 AD. And actually ruled, had strongholds even up until the 14, 15, and some of the 1600 period. So I'm gonna let the video play again to let her go into some of the history.
I will then discuss some major ideas that are important to the theory. And
fast forward a little bit.
This is a small room, and there are many of you. Thank you so much. Look around. A simple working leader. Simple working tradition. A definition of what an icon in the Christian tradition is, which I will elaborate a bit on more later. Literally, icon just means image. It comes from the Greek word icon, Eta, Iota, Kappa, Omicron, Nu, icon. In the Christian tradition, this is a special category of sacred image. I think Hans Belting, who is a prominent theorist of icons, defined icons most succinctly when he said that they are the combination of likeness and presence.
Now, when you factor in on the likeness, right, or image, when you go to the blue letter, that's exactly what it means. When you click on, matter of fact, I'm gonna go to Hebrews, the first chapter. As a matter of fact, you can find that. Hebrews 1. All right, where it has image. Hebrews 1 and 3. Go into linear. Go to the word image. Express image. All right. And express image. Scroll down a bit. I passed it, Shalakia. Okay, so outline biblical usage. And by the way, it's a Greek word on the blue letter.
Strong's G 5481. Charakter. Charakter.
Where you get the word character from. All right, a character, like a character in the movie, which is a person or image. A person playing this image of someone. It says the instrument used for engraving or carving. The mark stamped upon the instrument or wrought out on it. A mark or figure burned or stamped on an impression. the exact expression, the image of any person or thing, marked likeness, precise reproduction in every respect. And that's what I want to get right there, likeness, right? To express, it says the exact expression, it says the image of any person. So when you go into, when we go into the scriptures about how the Lord looked, as far as, well, let's start with the Most High, how the Most High looked, how His Son looked, how the children of Israel looked. Overwhelmingly, you get, precepts concerning, the image, all right, that should be portrayed of how the Heavenly Father looked, how His Son looked, how the children of Israel looked. And when you go into the scriptures, you'll see that they're dark images. Hence, the reason why Russian icons are so big, because Russian icons give you a full sense of what's within the scriptures. All right, it's like a detailed, it's like detailed drawings of the scriptures. All right, to see the icons. Okay, and so when you get into it, you start to see that, oh, these images there are so-called black and brown images of the children of Israel. Hence, you have it where the Edomites, which are the so-called, it started with the top chief tribe of Esau, tribe of Amalek, which they call themselves central banking families, which are the so-called 1948ers, the small hats. They pretty much are the descendants of Esau, on down to the average Joe Sixpack, so-called white person, so-called Caucasian person, and they the ones that went out to deceive the world into thinking that the people of the Bible were so-called white people, as far as the Heavenly Father, His Son, the children of Israel, the angels, and what have you. Revelation 20, in verse, let's go down. Let's start at the top. Revelation 20:1, it says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." This is the time period that she's going into, the early Christianity or Christian era or years. And it stems from, like I said, the Constantine the Great period, where, it became the Holy Roman Empire. And it's during the time period when the Israelites took it over. And this is after the fall of Esau, when they speak, a lot of historians know about Septimius Severus, which was an Israelite himself, so-called black man, or so-called Jew, because the so-called Jews are the so-called blacks. And when he was able to take down Esau, when that official, the official stamp of Jake taking it over is when it was deemed or called the Holy Roman Empire. All right, this is during that time. All right, so they were, ramping the mountains, all right, for roughly 1,000 years, all right, where Jake pushed them up in the mountains, and that's why they get the title of being a Caucasian, meaning cave dweller, mountain dweller. Jake pushed them up in the mountains, and they dwelt there for a time. All right, and when they came out of the mountains, that's when they began to take over Europe, which is known as the bottomless pit, because they don't have resources really. All right, so it says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season. So that little season, right, is when Esau began to take down Israelite strongholds in Europe, and hence you have the Renaissance period, or the beginning of the Renaissance period, and they begin to change the images. All right, so let's continue on the video. Let her explain some of the images that she got in her lesson, and I'll get back to the scriptures as well.
Most objects in this show are panel paintings. We do also have a few cast bronze icons and one small wooden one. I would emphasize that although we often think of the panel painting format, when we think of icons, icons can appear in numerous media, and some of them are very discrete objects. We also have church decorative programs. I would consider all of those images icons. So, where do these icons come from? And why in this exhibition do I qualify these as Russian icons? What is it about them that makes them Russian? I think it's important to remember that Russianness is a transient idea, just as Russia as a geopolitical idea has changed much over time. And it is somewhat of a fraught concept as we apply it to culture, politics, and issues of nationalism and national identity and self-identity. Here, I am keeping a narrow focus on mostly mainstream Russian Orthodox church practice, and there are also some old believer icons, which I include in that broader tradition here. But these are, I've chosen the term as dictated by the specific points of origin of these individual works in the gallery, and I don't mean to exclude the role of anyone from as part of a broader narrative. There are other voices in Russian history and Christian history that are important. And it's important to acknowledge that this big, complex idea of Russia has included many diverse peoples and traditions over time, and they have changed over time.
Now, the reason why you have these Russian icons is because you even had Jake living up into that land, all right? You had Jake living in that land, which is formerly occupied by the Japhetic people, okay? When you look up Gog and Magog in the scriptures, it goes back to Yawan, which is talking about Japhet, and the actual Japhites, or the known as the Etruscans as well, they were pushed out. All right, they were pushed out of Europe by Esau, and so they was a dark nation as well. But during this time period that she's going into is when the people that come from Shem, which are the children of Israel, all right, when they got up into Europe, all right, like I said before, and particularly the southern tribes of Israel, which is collectively known as the Jews, the so-called Negroes, Haitians, and West Indians, right?
It's also important to remember that with icons, in Orthodox Christianity, they are intended, they purport to be universal. The Christianness of them transcends any geopolitical qualifications. And also, the Orthodox Church is not the only group that venerates icons, that might be able to venerate these icons. However, the Byzantine Rite certainly has developed particular relationship to these traditions of icons over time, and so they incorporate them in their liturgy in specific ways, and that is what I'm going to focus on today.
In the Byzantine Empire, by the way, you go into the Byzantine Empire. All right, let's go to the Byzantine Empire. I have it pulled up right here on Google. It says the Byzantine Empire. This is from Wikipedia, by the way. The Byzantine Empire, also referred to as the Eastern Roman Empire or Byzantine, Byzantium. I'm sorry, was the continuation of the Roman Empire and its eastern provinces during late antiquity and the Middle Ages. Middle Ages, also known as Dark Ages, when its capital city was Constantinople. It survived the fragmentation and the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century AD and continued to exist for an additional 1,000 years until the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire in 1453. Like I said, by that time, 1325 is when Esau started to come out and to take down Jake's strongholds. All right, and you had the Russian. I'm sorry, not the Russian, but the changing of the images beginning over in Italy. You can look that history up too. You can look up iconoclasm in Italy, and it'll show you. All right. It says it survived the fragmentation of the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century AD and continued to exist for an additional 1,000 years until the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire in 1453. During most of its existence, the empire remained the most powerful economic, cultural, and military force in Europe, which is true. Jake know how to build wealth. Jake know how to portray culture in a major way. All right, better than anyone else. Military force. I have to say this. The best soldiers on earth are Israelites, man. Look at the current makeup of the military of the so-called U.S. It's mainly Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American people. All right. Excuse me. It's basically a makeup of our people. Let's go to the scriptures, man. This is Jeremiah 10:16. It says, "The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the form of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name." So Jacob is the form of all things. All right. Jake is the start with Judah, the trendsetters of anything in society that's deemed as something to imitate. All right. The reason why people want to do things is because of Israelites. All right. Sing, dance, play sports. Because they're literally imitating, all right, gods. All right. Because remember, we're gods to these people, man. We're like gods to these heathen, man. Let's go to the book of Psalms 96. All right. Not that one, Salaki, not 96. Let's go to what's that? Psalms 82 and verse 6. It says, "I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High." So we're gods, all right, to these people, man. All right, and they look up to Jake, and they imitate our people because of the way we do things. When we do things, we really get into them. All right, because we're the peculiar treasure of the Lord. Matter of fact, let's get that. Because the word peculiar itself means to be special. All right, peculiar. Let's go to let's go to Exodus. That's Exodus 19. I'm gonna scroll down, verse 5. Matter of fact, let's read it first. And right here it says Hebrew interlinear. It says, Exodus 19:5, it says, "Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine." So this is what the Heavenly Father told Moses to tell unto us. So when you go to peculiar, as you can see, as Sagala or Sagala or Sagala, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It says possession property, valued property. See, valued property, peculiar treasure, treasure. You go to Strong's translation. It says peculiar treasure, peculiar, special, jewel. You know, like I said, we're special, man. We're not like anyone else. All right, we're not like any other nation on earth, man. All right. It says it on it too as well. Yeah. All right. So let's go back to the video. Continuing on.
Absolutely.
Because we just brought up a device that might help a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so how do icons develop? A distinct tradition of Christian art is evident by the end of the 2nd century, and by the end of the 5th century, what we often call the Byzantine Empire, really I would tend to call it the Eastern Roman Empire, the Roman Empire in its later phase when it is based in Constantinople. It encircles the Mediterranean. Christian art and culture and theology become major forces in social and political life. In the 8th century, it experiences what is often called the iconoclast period, which lasts for approximately 150 years. This is a period during which there is deep internal conflict over the propriety of venerating icons. Some fears have emerged within the empire that the cult of icons has led them to become actually idolatrous. Perhaps they fear they have lost God's favor. This is partly a response to the rapid expansion of Islamic empires, and they are fighting over much of the same territory as the Muslim Arabs at that time. And with the number of defeats that they're suffering at this time, they wonder if perhaps they have lost God's favor, that something about their worship of icons has led them astray.
And that's true. You have the Ishmaelites, which are the so-called Arabs. They warred with Jake during this time period, off and on. Many times they warred with Jake, and hence you have it where a lot of them that was captured. A lot of them that was captured was called Marlenos or Moors. Excuse me. Where when they was captured, Ishmael would force them to consent into Islam. All right, Moreno. It says Moreno. Also Morano. It says a Jew or Moor in Spain who, to avoid persecution, publicly professed conversion to Christianity, while privately continued in the practices and beliefs of their old religion. It's 1580s. All right, so a Jew and a Moor. When you look at these things up, right, it should have the words. So let's go to Moor, right? Type in the word Moor. So a Moreno was a Jew or a Moor, meaning the same thing. It's synonymous. So let's type in the word Moor. Let's look it up. All right. It says Moor. And as you can see right here, they got a lot of it pulled up. It says North African Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary, which not meaning that they belong to the continent you know as Africa today. The land of Israel, you can get to the land of Ham, or you know it's the land of Africa by foot, which is formerly known as the land of Ham. It says, going down, it says, medieval Latin Moros, from Latin Moras, inhabitant of Mauritania. Roman, Northwest Africa, see? So there you go. A region now corresponding to the northern Algeria and Morocco. You have Israelites come out of Algeria and Morocco. It says from Greek moros, perhaps a native name, or else cognate with moros, meaning black. The word for black is Negro. Jump down, next paragraph. It says also applied to the Arabic conquerors of Spain. Being a dark people in relation to Europeans, their name in the Middle Ages was a synonym for Negro. So there you go, man. And we know that Ham became the progenitors of the dark races, not the Negroes. All right. And it says what? But the Egyptians, the Canaanites, the Ethiopians, and the Libyans. So we know that that North Africa, or that African thing in general, don't belong. Don't belong on the so-called Negroes, because that's not who they are. All right, they are the tribe of Judah, of the 12 tribes of Israel, which Judah is the lead tribe. All right. So let's go to scriptures real quick. I want to get another scripture. I didn't have this written down. All right. Exodus chapter 11, verse 7. It says, "But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that Yahweh doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel." So there's a clear difference. All right, there's a difference between the Egyptians, which come from Ham, and then, we come from Shem. All right. All right. They know that we come from Shem. All right. Most of the nations come from Shem. All right. Shemitic people. All right. Shemitic, meaning you're a descendant of Shem, or the Shemitic bloodline. All right. That's who the children of Israel come through. All right. It's a clear difference, man. That whole African thing is just put up on Jake to keep him in a confused state of mind, of believing that they're so-called African when they're not.
So we have a number of iconoclastic emperors. Under their reign, many icons are destroyed. They are often replaced by more abstract symbols, such as the cross. In the end, iconoclasm, certainly not good for specific icons. I would argue that for the surviving tradition of icons, it had some benefits. It was not a bad thing. It did promote a lot of developments.
So she mentioned iconoclasm. Let's go to that. Get that on the online etymology. Iconoclasm. Right there. Iconoclasm. 1797, it says, in reference to an act of breaking or destroying idols physically. It says figuratively from 1858, in reference to beliefs, cherished institutions, etc. So that's iconoclasm. This is iconoclast. It says breaker or destroyer of images. See, from French, iconoclast, and directly from medieval Latin, iconoclastes. And you go down, it says, here we go. Originally in reference to those in the Eastern Church in 8th century and 9th century, whose mobs of followers destroyed icons and other religious objects on the grounds that they were idols, applied to 16th century, 17th century Protestants in Netherlands who vandalized former Catholic churches on similar grounds, extended sense of one who attacks orthodox beliefs or cherished institutions. So, iconoclast definitions: a destroyer of images used in religious worship. So that's really what it comes down to. All right, they broke down the real images of the Israelites. What they, matter of fact, is what she's going into. That's why we always bring out this in Job 9:24. All right, Job 9:24, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now, the judges that the scriptures are talking about, all right, the book of Job, is talking about the judges being the Israelites. All right, because the real judges of the earth are the Israelites. And the reason why their faces was covered up with so-called white images, so Esau could portray himself as the Most High, as his son, as the Lord's people, and even the angels. All right, this is him deceiving, all right, the people, man. All right, this is him covering. All right, let's get that covering. Go to the book of Isaiah and get that. This is that covering cast, man. All right, Isaiah 25:7, it says, and he will destroy in his mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. All right, let me read that again. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Which that veil that was spread over all nations, or the covering that was cast over all the people, was the nationality of the people. All right, who everyone is. So everyone's not going by their biblical nationality. Everybody's going by the titles or the names that Esau put up on them. All right, just like you have the Persians today, which the Persians today would be the Iranians. All right, but they're not known as the Persians no more. They're known as the Iranians instead of Persians. All right, and that's a covering cast. All right, a veil is meant to hide something, or is that something can be hidden behind something. All right, so that's what Esau did, man.
During this period, the iconodules, those who venerate icons, also known as iconophiles, produce many apologias. This is a Christian tradition of literary argumentation. They produce apologias in defense of icons, which mark a concerted effort to develop a systematic theory of icons. So this is when icon theory really begins to flourish and become more organized within the church. Following this period and the ultimate triumph of the iconodules, icon production also comes back with a vengeance. It is stronger than ever. More icons than ever before are being produced. There is a major innovation during this period. This is the development in church architecture and church decoration, where the templon, which is what divides the nave of the church, where the laity worships, from the sanctuary, which is where only certain clergy are allowed to go, and that is where the altar is. So it begins as this low colonnade, often, if anything, very simply, sparsely decorated. It develops into what we recognize now in many Orthodox churches as the very developed form of the iconostasis. This is a wall that is often covered with dozens and dozens of icons, and in its fullest form of development, it essentially just becomes, it is as if it were just a frame for dozens and dozens of icons. in
So
the most.
this is what it means. You know, when you go to Maccabees, when it says, and lay open the book where the heathen, right, painted images in the likeness of themselves, you know, pretty much. Because, and that was during the time of the Greeks as well. All right, the Maccabees, or the Maccabean revolt, was during the time of the Greeks, or the children of Edom, which the Greek word would be Idumea or Idumea, the Idumeans. The children of Esau, same thing, just a Greek name. Um, they was doing it back then, because one of the time of the Greeks, when they first came into power, it was big, and then when they came back into power, the Renaissance era, all right, this is something they was doing, all right. They was doing that very, very heavily. You know, they would actually break down a lot of. They would break down a lot of images and paint them up like Edomite images. You know, basically that's what they were, what they became. You know, Edomite images. It says Idumean in reference. I'm sorry, in reference to the biblical Edom, from Latin Idumea, Edom, from Greek Idumea, from Hebrew Edom, which Hebrew would be Adawam. All right, Adawam. So um, that's how you know who it is. All right, the Edomites did that. Right. So again, who is behind this deception? It'll be Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right. So you know, when Esau pretty much came into power, he hid a lot of history of the real Israelites. All right, and this is the reason today why he demonized and called we call us Israelites, man, domestic terrorists, because of we bring out these facts and uh, bring out this historical proof that the children of Israel uh, are the so-called Negroes and Latino Native American people. All right, it's not a hate thing. It's not a you know anything to do with physical violence at all. It's just we go in the scriptures, all right, and we bring it out through history, which history is in the scriptures. All right, secular history lines up with the Bible. So this is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 7. It says, "And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to the battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." So this is talking about the Edomites when they was coming out of the mountains. You know, they was coming out of the Caucasus Mountains and other mountain areas, and they was taking down Jake's strongholds or Israelite strongholds in Europe. And what they do, they deceive. All right, that's when that covering cast was put over the people. Esau came out, he broke down the real images of the Israelites. All right, the ones that he could. And then he had actual Israelites to paint, you know, images of him. All right, portraying himself as like he's the Most High, like he's the Most High's son, like he's the children of Israel, like he's the angels. See, Esau, you have a lot to pay for. All right, excuse me. You have a lot to pay for because you're the one that did this, man. And the other nations helped you, but you're the mastermind behind all of it. Psalms 83 and 1, it says, "Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace. It be not still, O power. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So when we all went into slavery, everything about us was basically beaten and killed about of us through slavery. All right, they show you that in the movie Roots, where Kunta Kinte, he was beaten and terrorized into calling himself Toby instead of being Kunta Kinte. And that's pretty much a thing they did to Jake. You had a Hebrew name, spoke the Hebrew. The ones he caught or captured from the land of Ham on the West Coast mainly, Northwest, West Coast. And he forced you to speak his language and call yourself by the name he give you. All right. Hence, we all have these names whom our forefathers didn't know. All right. We weren't known as Johnsons, Smiths, Mayweathers, and Harper and things like that. These are not the names that our forefathers was calling themselves. All right. You didn't call yourself, last name Smith and White and, different names that you go by today. All right. You didn't have those names. All right. So they cut us off as a nation. All right. Not only from our language, okay, but even our, identity itself. All right. They didn't. Esau denied us that. All right. That's how our name became, or who we are. Period. As far as our identity, how it became no more remembrance through slavery. All right. That's why today, when you stand up on your feet and you know this knowledge, and you claim your heritage and your true nationality, all right, that's a problem to Esau, man. But he can't escape the fact that these scriptures are pertaining to us. All right, Jeremiah 17:4, proving again that we discontinue from our heritage, right? Jeremiah 17:4, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. So, this is the way we discontinue from our heritage, all right, by going into slavery, captivity, where we assuredly drunk of that cup, which is slavery, all right, and we lost everything of who we are, and who we were before slavery. Everything about us was erased from our minds, from generation to generation, and on to this day, where waking Jake up to the fact that we're Israelites is so much of a hassle, man, because of what Esau done to Jake, man. All right, Esau did a number on Jake, man. All right, and we boldly come out there and proclaim our nationality and identity. All right, so from there, let's go to the book of Hosea. Hosea 1 and verse 10, it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. See? And that's what we are, the sons of the living power, the living God. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. The Heavenly Father and the Son. Yahweh Wah Yahweh Shai. All right. That's who our power is. All right. And see, the place, all right, that we was denied of, the place that we was denied of being the Most High sons is right here in America, because prior to the inception or the beginning of this whole American corporation, we knew who we were. All right, even so-called Latinos and Native Americans, we knew who we were. Everything you find about us, all right, everything they learned and studied about us points to us being who? The children of Israel. When James Adair studied us, what did he say? We speak an ancient Semitic language. Now, what that language got to be? It got to be Hebrew, because everything he found was written in the Syrian-style Hebrew. Hence, you have the lost on the stone and different things. The Ten Commandments written in Syrian-style Hebrew. Okay. So America is where the children of Israel, all right, so-called America, all right, where the children of Israel would serve hard bondage, man. All right, hard bondage. Okay, let's go from there, because America is where the Most High not only caused us to know that we were sons, but this is where the Most High, all right, caused us to be put in remembrance, right? The book of Jude, verse 5, says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not. So, the Most High put us in remembrance of us being Israelites. All right? The Most High is the one that gave us our language back. All right? And it's all made possible because the Most High. And then you have to add in this too, man, because Yahweh Shai, what he did for us, on the behalf of the children of Israel, was just dying for the children of Israel so that we could be adopted back into the Father, or brought back to the Father. All right, so we're indebted, man. We're indebted to Yahweh Yahweh Shai, because we have this knowledge because of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, let's get this Baruch. Let's go to Baruch. I believe it's the second chapter. Excuse me. Baruch 2:30. It says, For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. And the Most High calls us to remember ourselves, man. All right. It says, verse 31, and shall know that I am the Lord, their power, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear. And that's, hey, that's what the Most High done to us. The word heart meaning your mind, or the Hebrew word is lab again. He have given us a mind, all right, and ears to hear or understand, right? That's why we understand this knowledge. All right, it was taught to us, and we understand it because Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Baal Shem Rachak Wadash, all right, through the Holy Spirit, caused us to understand, all right, the Lord's word. So, verse 32, it says, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. What do you think we do when you pray to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai? When you teach, when you go into lessons, short video lessons, what have you? When you look at the state of, excuse me, when you look at the state of your people or condition of your people, right? You think upon the names Yahweh Yahweh Shai, and you want to see your people put in that higher state again. All right. It says, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. Verse 33, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the Lord, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. See? this is what the Lord getting ready to do to for us, man, on a major scale, man. He's getting ready to give us that land He promised unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we're going to be lords of it, and we won't diminish because we're going to be made perfect. All right, given that immortal body and that perfect mind, man, programmed to be perfect. Verse 35, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. Right, because the Most High said that what? When He take us back to our land, all right, then we're going to be at rest. All right, we're not going to go into captivity no more. Let's go to that real quick. I'll go to Jeremiah 30. That's a good one. Excuse me. Matter of fact, I pass it up. Slakia. Yeah, come. Jeremiah 30 and 10, it says, therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. This is what the Lord has planned and is going to do for us, man, because He promised that He would do this, all right, when He promised it to our forefathers, that He would give us that land, all right, and that He would increase us and make us plenty, so we won't ever see the loss of life again for Israelites, man. All right, we won't see Israelites die, none of that stuff. So this is the time we're living in now, when the Lord's getting ready to deliver the children of Israel from the new Egypt, all right, Sodom and Egypt. This place is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? And going back to Hosea, the first chapter, let's go back to that real quick. All right, Hosea 1 and 11. It says, Hosea 1 and 11, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, right? What land? The land of America. All right. Let's see. Let's go to Jeremiah 50. Let's get that real quick. All right. Let's go. Jeremiah 50. I passed it, Shalakia. It's in the same books. Bear me 1 second. Because the Lord says He's going to deliver us, all right, out of the land of the north. All right, the land of the north. And I want to get that precept, because the land of the north is referring to, in fact, I'm going to spend much time searching for it. I didn't have it written down as a precept. Land of the north. Bear me 1 second as I get it. The Lord says He's going to deliver us from the land of the north. All right, matter of fact. Land of the north. this is in fact Jeremiah 16 and 15. I was in the wrong chapter. I remember this in Jeremiah, and it's been a while since I read it. Jeremiah 16 and 15. It says, matter of fact, let's go up a bit. Yeah. Jeremiah 16 and 14. It says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whether he had driven them, which is all the lands, right? We are among all people, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 64. The Lord was scattered among all nations that are upon the face of the earth, right? It says, but Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. See? So, this is the time that we're living in, man. All right? What the Lord is going to deliver. All right? The remnant, all right? Remember, the remnant, start with the elect of that remnant, which is the 1/3. You got the elect that come out of the 1/3, right? That's whom the Lord is going to deliver first. All right? And then the 2/3 that come back in the kingdom. That's how they'll be saved. Right, Hosea 1 and 11. Then shall the children of Israel and the children of, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land. Right, so that's the land that the Lord is talking about, the land of the north. North what? North America. All right, for great shall be the day of Jezreel, which is Yajarahala, which is the seed of the power, man. All right, no more living in this condition. The whole world's gonna know who the real children of Israel, who they are, once the Lord come back. Which, again, you're gonna see, all right, Yahweh Shai come back and deliver the elect. All right, in the 1/3, and the whole world's gonna see. It's gonna be a worldwide thing. All right, when those ships appear, which are the so-called UFOs, the chariots, it's gonna be a major thing that's gonna happen. All right, there are more and more so-called UFO sightings, which are the chariots, right? According to scriptures, they're the chariots. All right. There have been many more sightings that's causing the government problems. All right, so we're almost there. We're almost there. But until then, you must study and continue to go into the history and go into the scriptures. All right. So with that, I want to say shalom.